Do you know why Samuel L. Jackson hates Steve Harvey so much? Recent revelations show that Samuel L. Jackson did not care about any risks in the industry when he was determined to confront Steve Harvey directly just to protect the reputation of his close friend, Bernie Mac. It is known that in recent days, the feud between Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac has been dug up once again, making fans of both unable to sit still. But it seems that Steve Harvey has the advantage because at least he can still speak up to protect his rights, while Bernie Mac, who passed away 16 years ago, cannot. Therefore, Samuel L. Jackson stood up to protect his friend regardless. Are you ready to listen to this tense confrontation? Let's begin. To most people outside the world of showbiz, it might seem logical to assume that all successful celebrities are close friends. After all, they share wealth and fame, and often work in similar industries. However, it appears that in some cases, money and fame are far from the main ingredients in determining who gets along with whom. One such example is the strained relationship, or rather the lack of one, between actor Samuel L. Jackson and comedian and television host Steve Harvey. At first glance, it might seem like a trivial or humorous matter, especially given Jackson's notorious sense of humor. Perhaps his distance from Harvey is rooted in something as simple as the comedian's signature mustache. But the reality seems to be far more complicated, and it all appears to be traced back to their mutual friend, the late comedian Bernie Mac. To understand this dynamic, it's important to recognize the close bond that Jackson shared with Bernie Mac, a relationship that predates Mac's rise to stardom and his public association with Steve Harvey. While it's widely known that Harvey and Mac shared a history, having come up through the comedy scene together, what many people don't realize is that Mac and Jackson were friends long before Harvey entered the picture. According to Samuel L. Jackson, Bernie Mac was more than just a friend. He was a brotherly figure, someone who was always there for him, even providing Jackson a place to stay when he needed it. Their connection was forged during a time when both men were still finding their footing in the entertainment industry. Jackson has described their friendship in warm, heartfelt terms, noting how open and generous Mac was with him. Bernie Mac's generosity and loyalty left a deep impression on Jackson, and that connection remained strong throughout Mac's life. To Jackson, Bernie Mac wasn't just another comedian or colleague. He was someone with whom he had shared experiences and a personal bond. Given the closeness of their relationship, it's easy to see why Jackson might be protective of Mac's memory and legacy. This is where things get interesting, and potentially contentious, when it comes to Steve Harvey. While Harvey and Mac were publicly seen as part of the same comedy fraternity, thanks to their appearances together on the Kings of Comedy tour and in other high-profile projects, the truth about their behind-the-scenes relationship is more complicated. Over the years, rumors have circulated about tension between Harvey and Mac, with some suggesting that there was professional rivalry or jealousy at play. These rumors, while never fully confirmed, have lingered in the public consciousness. Some have speculated that Harvey's competitive nature may have caused friction between him and Bernie Mac, especially as both men were competing for the same kinds of roles and opportunities in the comedy world. Given Mac's untimely death in 2008, any unresolved issues between him and Harvey were never publicly addressed, leaving the matter shrouded in mystery. From Jackson's perspective, however, it seems clear that his loyalty lies with Bernie Mac. While the exact reasons for Jackson's apparent disdain for Steve Harvey remain unspoken, it's not hard to imagine that it might have something to do with the way Harvey's relationship with Mac played out in the public eye. For someone as loyal and passionate as Samuel L. Jackson, any perceived slight against a close friend like Bernie Mac could be enough to create lasting animosity. According to Samuel L. Jackson, one major theory revolves around the differences in the way the two comedians were treated by networks during their careers. At the height of their fame, Steve Harvey was seemingly favored by network executives, receiving ample airtime and landing numerous high-profile opportunities. In contrast, Bernie Mac, despite his immense talent and unique comedic style, didn't receive the same level of attention, at least not initially. This perceived disparity in how the two were treated could have been the root of the tension between them. Steve Harvey, by the time he became a household name, was well established as a leading figure in comedy. He hosted The Steve Harvey Show, a successful sitcom that ran from 1996 to 2002, and he headlined numerous television shows, including game shows like Family Feud. Additionally, he had already made a name for himself in stand-up comedy and had built a reputation for his larger-than-life personality, which resonated with a broad audience. His extravagant, animated demeanor made him the face of many projects and garnered him consistent network love. On the other hand, Bernie Mac's rise to fame followed a more gradual path. Though Mac was incredibly popular in the stand-up circuit and beloved by fans for his raw, unfiltered comedic style, he struggled to break into mainstream television in the way Harvey did. It wasn't until The Bernie Mac Show premiered in 2001 that he truly got the recognition he deserved, earning both critical acclaim and widespread viewership. This show was a departure from the typical sitcom format, with Mac breaking the fourth wall to speak directly to the audience in a way that was both groundbreaking and heartfelt. Yet many feel that Bernie Mac should have received this recognition much earlier, given his talent. This discrepancy between Harvey's rapid success and Mac's slower rise may have contributed to a sense of rivalry. When Mac finally started receiving the attention he had long deserved, some speculated that Harvey, who had already established himself as a major player in the industry, may have felt threatened. Whether this sense of competition ever manifested in real, overt conflict between the two remains unclear, but it's possible that the tension simmered beneath the surface. The relationship between Samuel L. Jackson and Steve Harvey is often described as volatile, but in reality, that might be an overstatement. The two don't appear to have any direct animosity toward each other. Rather, they seem to have little in common. Initially, many assumed that Jackson's issue with Harvey was due to Harvey's extravagant and boisterous personality, a trait that could easily rub someone like Jackson, known for his cool, collected demeanor, the wrong way. However, it appears that Jackson's distance from Harvey has less to do with personality and more to do with loyalty, particularly regarding his friendship with Bernie Mac. Steve Harvey is often viewed as one of the greatest entertainers to have come out of the industry, particularly given his longevity and success in various formats. With more than 3 decades of experience under his belt, Harvey's career spans everything from stand-up comedy to acting, hosting, and producing. His ability to transition from one format to another has earned him widespread respect and admiration. Whether it's his role as a talk show host, his sharp commentary on game shows, or his motivational speaking, Harvey has built an empire that many in the entertainment world envy. To many, his ability to consistently remain relevant in an industry as fickle as entertainment is nothing short of impressive. However, for all the praise Harvey has received, there are others who feel differently. Some critics argue that Harvey's success came at the expense of others, suggesting that he may not have always played fair on his way to the top. One person remarked, "People don't become as successful as Steve doing the right thing. If anything, I'll say he's consistent." This sentiment reflects the suspicion some have that Harvey's climb to fame wasn't entirely based on merit or talent, but also on an aggressive pursuit of opportunities that may have sidelined others, like Bernie Mac. These accusations remain unsubstantiated, but they continue to circulate among those who believe that Harvey's rise wasn't as clean as it appears. While some people might not be upfront about their opinions or distaste for others in the entertainment industry, Samuel L. Jackson has managed to communicate his subtle feelings about Steve Harvey without being too direct. Unlike some of Harvey's more vocal critics, Jackson hasn't publicly called out Harvey or engaged in any obvious feuds. However, despite his more reserved approach, it's become clear over time that Jackson and Harvey do not have a particularly friendly relationship. One instance that brought attention to their dynamic occurred a few years ago when pictures surfaced online showing Jackson, his wife LaTanya Richardson Jackson, and Harvey along with his wife Marjorie Harvey on a luxury vacation. The images, which were widely circulated, were from a July 4th yacht trip where the two couples, along with NBA legend Magic Johnson and his wife, spent time together on a fancy yacht. At the time, many headlines excitedly covered the story, with titles such as Steve Harvey, Samuel L. Jackson, and Magic Johnson enjoy July 4th on a fancy yacht with their wives. To the casual observer, it looked like a group of close friends enjoying a lavish summer getaway, leading many to assume that Jackson and Harvey were on friendly terms. A few years after the widely publicized vacation photos of Samuel L. Jackson, Steve Harvey, Magic Johnson, and their wives on a luxury yacht made the rounds, Jackson finally shed some light on the true circumstances of that encounter. While many assumed that the trip was a prearranged get-together among close friends, Jackson revealed that this wasn't the case at all. In fact, Jackson explained that meeting up with Steve Harvey during that vacation was purely accidental. This clarification was a subtle but significant way for Jackson to set the record straight and dispel the notion that he and Harvey were friends or had made plans to vacation together. Jackson explained that he and his wife, LaTanya Richardson Jackson, were on their way to their usual vacation spot when they happened to bump into Harvey and his wife Marjorie along the way. The two couples were headed to the same destination, but that was where the similarities ended. According to Jackson, they didn't travel together or share any special arrangements. Steve and Mary have their own boat, Jackson pointed out during an interview, clarifying that while they may have been at the same location, they were on separate yachts. This statement was Jackson's way of distancing himself from the narrative that he and Harvey were hanging out together. Jackson's body language and expression as he shared this story spoke volumes. His tone was calm, but there was a clear undercurrent of disinterest when he spoke about Harvey. It seemed as though Jackson wanted the world to know that his encounter with Steve Harvey was nothing more than a coincidence, and any suggestion that they were close friends or had vacationed together was an overstatement. While Jackson remained diplomatic, the message he conveyed was clear. Meeting Steve Harvey wasn't part of his plans, and the fact that they ended up in the same place was nothing more than a coincidence. This revelation naturally leads to the question of why Jackson seems to keep his distance from Harvey. The underlying issue between the two appears to go beyond just personality differences. In fact, Jackson's apparent lack of enthusiasm for Harvey seems to be tied to his loyalty to Bernie Mac. Mac, who was a close friend of Jackson's, had a complicated relationship with Harvey, and it's likely that this tension influenced how Jackson viewed the TV host. Samuel L. Jackson's apparent disdain for Steve Harvey, which has simmered beneath the surface for years, seems to have deepened due to recent reports of Harvey comparing his life to that of the legendary comedian Bernie Mac. For Jackson, who was close to Mac and deeply admired his talent and authenticity, this comparison likely struck a nerve. The idea of Steve Harvey aligning himself with Bernie Mac in any way, whether in terms of career trajectory or personal experiences, may have felt not only inappropriate but also offensive, especially given the stark differences in how the two men approached their careers, their motivations, and their public personas. Bernie Mac was a comedian who drew inspiration from his upbringing, his family, and the culture around him. He often spoke about how his comedy came from a deeply personal place, shaped by his experiences growing up in the South Side of Chicago. Mac didn't chase fame for the sake of fame, nor did he pursue money as his primary goal. His focus was on telling stories that resonated with people, especially those from his community. Mac's comedy was raw, unfiltered, and often touched on difficult topics like race, poverty, and family struggles. But he did so in a way that brought humor and healing, earning him a special place in the hearts of his fans. For Mac, comedy was a form of expression that allowed him to connect with his audience on a deeper level. It wasn't just about getting laughs, it was about sharing a part of himself and giving a voice to the voiceless. His humor was rooted in authenticity, and that authenticity was what made him so beloved. In interviews, Mac often spoke about how his family, particularly his grandmother, played a significant role in shaping his sense of humor. He wasn't motivated by fame or wealth, but by a desire to make people laugh and uplift them through his storytelling. On the other hand, Steve Harvey's career seems to have been driven by a very different set of values. While Harvey is undeniably a talented comedian and entertainer, his path to success has often been marked by a focus on financial gain and maintaining his public image. From his early days as a stand-up comedian to his eventual rise as a television host, Harvey has built an empire that spans various forms of media, including talk shows, radio, books, and even motivational speaking. But for many, including Jackson, Harvey's brand of success seems more tied to the pursuit of wealth and status than to a genuine passion for comedy or storytelling. Harvey's personal life has also been filled with scandals, from his multiple divorces to allegations of infidelity and feuds with other celebrities. While his public persona as a charismatic, advice-giving figure has won him legions of fans, there's a certain veneer to Harvey's success that feels less grounded in authenticity compared to someone like Bernie Mac. Harvey's life, particularly his pursuit of wealth and fame, seems to run parallel to his career trajectory, making money, gaining influence, and constantly reinventing himself to stay relevant. When Harvey began to compare his life to that of Bernie Mac, it's no wonder that Samuel L. Jackson wasn't pleased. For Jackson, who had a deep respect for Mac and the legacy he left behind, such a comparison might have felt like a cheap attempt by Harvey to align himself with Mac's more authentic and down-to-earth approach to comedy and life. Jackson likely saw the comparison as disingenuous and even disrespectful, considering how vastly different Mac and Harvey's motivations and careers have been. One of the most glaring differences between the two men is how they approached their craft. Mac was known for his no-holds-barred style of comedy. He wasn't afraid to push boundaries or make people uncomfortable as long as it was in the service of truth and humor. His comedy was an extension of his personality, bold, unapologetic, and deeply rooted in the Black experience. Meanwhile, Harvey has often been seen as more of a polished entertainer, someone who has carefully crafted his image to appeal to the masses. While Mac remained true to his roots throughout his career, Harvey has often been criticized for playing it safe and being more concerned with maintaining his status in the entertainment industry. Samuel L. Jackson and Bernie Mac had a deep and long-standing friendship that went beyond their careers in Hollywood. Their relationship was so close that many in the entertainment industry saw them almost as siblings, with a bond that was built on years of mutual support, respect, and shared experiences. When people speak about Jackson in connection with Bernie Mac, it's not just because they were co-stars. It's because they were genuinely close friends who shared a powerful connection, both on and off screen. In interviews over the years, Jackson has opened up about the impact Mac had on his life and career, often in humorous but heartfelt terms. He has described how Mac would push him to do things he didn't even know he was capable of doing, a testament to the way Mac inspired those around him. Jackson even joked, in his typically blunt and humorous style, that Mac kept him out of prison on some days, suggesting that Mac's presence and influence helped him stay grounded. Their relationship wasn't just about Hollywood or professional success. It was about friendship, camaraderie, and personal growth. One of the most notable collaborations between the two was the 2008 film Soul Men, where Jackson and Mac played Lewis and Floyd, two former bandmates who reconnected after years apart to perform at a tribute concert for their late lead singer. The plot of the film revolves around the duo's chaotic and comedic road trip across the country as they attempt to mend their fractured relationship and put on a show in memory of their friend. The dynamic between the characters in Soul Men echoed the real-life bond that existed between Jackson and Mac. Their chemistry on screen wasn't just acting, it was the natural result of years of friendship and shared experiences. However, what adds a layer of bittersweet emotion to Soul Men is the fact that it was Bernie Mac's final film. He tragically passed away from pneumonia in August 2008, shortly after they finished filming. Jackson has spoken about how difficult it was to process Mac's death, especially since Mac never got to see the finished film. This reality hit Jackson hard, as their final project together became a poignant tribute not just to the characters they played, but also to their own friendship. Jackson has spent much of the time since Mac's passing reflecting on his friend's life, work, and legacy. He often shares stories about the times they spent together, both as friends and collaborators. One touching anecdote that Jackson has shared involved his annual golf tournament in Bermuda, where Mac and other friends, including their Ocean's 11 co-stars, would attend and perform comedy. These events were a way for Jackson to combine his love for sports and entertainment with the joy of being surrounded by friends like Mac. For Jackson, these memories are a reminder of the light Mac brought into the lives of those around him. What made Jackson and Mac's relationship even more special was the way they balanced their personal bond with their professional lives. While they were both incredibly talented and successful in their own right, they always seemed to make time for one another, even when their careers took them in different directions. In a business where friendships can often be fleeting, their connection stood the test of time. It's no surprise, then, that Jackson has been so protective of Mac's legacy in the years since his death. One aspect of Mac's life that Jackson often highlights is the way he stayed true to himself and his roots, no matter how much fame or success he achieved. Mac's humor was deeply personal and often drew from his experiences growing up on the South Side of Chicago. His comedy was fearless and raw, touching on sensitive topics like race, poverty, and family dynamics. Yet Mac's ability to make people laugh through tough times is what made him so beloved, and it's something Jackson admired deeply. Outside of filming Soul Men, Samuel L. Jackson revealed that he didn't get to spend as much time with Bernie Mac as he would have liked during the height of Mac's career. Bernie was fully immersed in his television show, The Bernie Mac Show, a critically acclaimed Fox comedy series that aired from 2001 to 2006. The demands of the show kept Mac busy, as he was the star, creator, and frequent writer of the series, which left him little time for socializing or maintaining personal relationships with old friends. Jackson, who had known Mac for years, understood and respected this, acknowledging that fame and success come with a price, one that often includes time and distance. "We used to talk about blowing up and being famous and doing all this stuff," Jackson recalled, reflecting on their earlier years when both men were on the cusp of fame. During those times, they would discuss their ambitions and dreams, imagining a future where they both made it big. But once Mac's star rose, particularly with the success of his show, their ability to see each other regularly dwindled. Jackson, understanding the pressures that come with stardom, didn't want to intrude on Mac's busy schedule. He respected Mac's need to dedicate himself to his craft and the responsibility he bore as the head of a successful television series. Jackson mentioned that while they didn't see each other frequently, they would cross paths at industry events and functions. "I didn't go by and bother him," Jackson explained, highlighting his respect for Mac's hard work and the intense demands of his career. "But I would run into him at functions, and we got to get together." Despite the physical distance between them during Mac's television run, the bond they shared never wavered. Jackson spoke with admiration about his friend, appreciating the dedication Mac showed to his career and the way he handled the pressures of fame. Jackson also fondly remembered a time when Mac came through for him. During the filming of The Negotiator in Chicago, Jackson recalled how Mac took care of him. It's a testament to the kind of friend Mac was, someone who, despite his busy schedule, made sure to be there when it mattered. Mac's generosity and loyalty to his friends are part of what made him so beloved by those who knew him personally. The End of Soul Men, the film Jackson and Mac starred in together, features a dedication to both Bernie Mac and Isaac Hayes, another legend who passed away in 2008. This tribute was Jackson's idea, a heartfelt way to honor his friend and fellow actor. Both men were, in their own way, real soul men, Mac through his comedy and Hayes through his music. This dedication reflects the depth of Jackson's love and respect for Mac, underscoring the emotional weight of working on a project that would become Mac's final film. Jackson wanted to ensure that Mac's legacy, as well as Hayes's, was immortalized in a way that matched the influence and joy they brought to the world. Understanding the basis of Jackson's relationship with Bernie Mac sheds light on why he would take issue with comparisons between Mac and other entertainers, particularly someone like Steve Harvey. Jackson's loyalty to Mac, combined with his reverence for the path Mac took to reach the top of the comedy world, makes it easy to see why he would feel protective of his friend's legacy. Mac wasn't just another comedian. He was a pioneer in the industry. His style of humor, his authenticity, and the personal experiences he brought to the stage and screen set him apart from his peers. To Jackson, Mac's career was not something that could be easily compared or replicated by others. Bernie Mac's career, best known for his groundbreaking work on The Bernie Mac Show and the historic Kings of Comedy tour, is a testament to his talent and influence. The Kings of Comedy, which was eventually made into a film directed by Spike Lee, showcased Mac's ability to connect with audiences on a massive scale. Alongside Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hewley, Mac helped bring black comedy to the mainstream in a way that hadn't been done before. His performances were raw, unfiltered, and full of the wit and wisdom that had defined his life and career. What do you think about Samuel L. Jackson's admiration for Bernie Mac and his disdain for Steve Harvey? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.